everyone, and welcome back to my channel. Only joking, this hair kind of makes me feel like Janet Jackson back in the day. So anyway, welcome back to my channel, guys. Glad to have you back. If you're here for the first time, my name is Tiara and this is the D-Lo. Now, if you like content that's based around family, so my journey as a new mom and a new wife, lifestyle, so basically personal development, vlogs and everything in between, food, so me sharing yummy recipes with you guys, and faith, so me sharing a little bit about my Christian walk, then please do hit the subscribe button right now and join this channel. Anyway, so today I wanted to talk to you guys about my birth story and how it felt to be pregnant during a pandemic. Dun 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 dun, like literally it sounds like a horror movie. She was pregnant in a pandemic. So first of all, let me tell you a little bit about my pregnancy. It involved vomit, and even more vomit. I'm talking about on a daily basis, guys, I was throwing up. My husband and my brother both became professional vomit catchers. Like literally, I would just signal to them, they grab the plastic bag, or you know, they lift the toilet seat up and they know the deal. It was a little bit crazy. So at first, when the pandemic struck this year, I was already having a little bit of rough time during my pregnancy. I was in America, my husband was in Nigeria, in Lagos, and I was getting ready for him to come over to America for us to be there both together. Obviously I would have to be there, but for him to be there with me during the birth of my baby. Now, as most young moms do, I was on a hype and I wanted to have everything perfect with my birth. And one of the things that I had on lock was my birth plan. I had everything written down that I wanted to happen during the birth and delivery of my baby. The only thing that happened to my plan was that it flew out of the window and it caught up in flames. Nothing went as I planned it at all. So a few weeks before I was meant to give birth to my baby, obviously, as you guys know, a global pandemic broke out and the world was starting to propel into what I can only describe as chaos. Absolute chaos. Nobody knew what was going on. It was spreading around quickly, and in America the death rate was increasing every single day. Fast forward a few weeks and I'm preparing to have my baby and my husband is meant to be coming the next week. I get a phone call from my husband telling me that the Nigerian borders were going to close on Monday. This was on a Friday and my husband was scheduled to fly out to America on Tuesday. Now, if I can describe how I felt that day, it was literally like being hit with a lorry carrying a ton of bricks. I was devastated at the prospect of my husband not being there. But obviously, with my pregnancy hormones and everything, I just dived right into a sea called denial. And I was like, you know what, it's fine, you're gonna come, you know, it's okay, you know, we'll work something out, you know, even if the borders close, we'll just find a way. And obviously deep down I knew that that was not gonna happen unless my husband literally morphed himself over to the hospital. Every avenue for him coming seemed to close. So I knew that my mom would be there at the birth of my baby, but my husband would not be there, which was terrible. Now at this point, a lot of people were asking me, oh, when is Maiwa coming? What is happening with your birth? You know, is your husband gonna be there? Is he gonna make it? And at this point it got to a stage where I just had a rehearsed answer that I was giving to everyone. I'm fine, it's okay, it's all right, it's okay, it's fine, it is well, glory be to God, it's cool, it's fine. It actually became like a rap that I had down on lock. Where's your husband? It's okay. When's he coming? It is fine. And oh, deep within myself, I could not believe what was happening because this was the birth of my first child and I couldn't believe that my husband was not going to be there. One day it got to a point where I literally just broke down and my cousin called me, and you know, in fact I think I called her, and I was just like, I am not okay. Like oh, it was such a relief to just be able to tell someone that this really sucked and not pretend that it was okay. Because one thing that you will find as a pregnant woman is that everyone is always telling you about, you know, putting your baby's needs first, you know, just be happy because the baby needs to be happy. If you're sad, the baby will feel it. But at this point, I literally felt like I had to be selfish, or I ended up being selfish, and I was thinking of my own self and my own comfort, and having my husband there for the birth of the baby, which we had both planned and looked forward to throughout my whole pregnancy. So basically that didn't happen. So I had to move on and mentally prepare myself that my husband was gonna just video call in to see the birth of the baby. So my last medical checkup was at 36 weeks, and at 36 weeks everything was fine. My cervix was closed, nothing was going on. The only thing that had happened was that my baby was facing downwards, which meant that she was getting in the right position for birth and it was not going to be a breech birth. Now, I don't know how many people watching this actually enjoyed their pregnancy from the beginning till the end, but to be honest, from about 35 weeks I was kind of over it. Number one, I was really excited to see my baby. Number two, I was really tired and I just wanted time to just fly, and it felt like time was going really slowly. So I was just counting down and excited to have my baby. So because I was kind of over it and ready to see my baby, I started to try all sorts of things to take things into my own hands to try and speed my childbirth up a little bit. So the first thing that I tried was eating spicy food, and I'm talking about extreme spice. I would buy chicken wings and literally pour a whole bottle of hot sauce all over the chicken wings, slather them deep inside, because I read that spicy food can help speed up your labor. Another thing that I tried was raspberry leaf tea. I was drinking it on a daily basis until one day I drank it and literally I felt like I was having hot flushes, having a mad crazy fever. Like, it was just crazy. I had an experience, and that was it for me and raspberry leaf tea. I also read somewhere that pineapples work, and I started to eat pineapples on a daily basis. Now, when I did read about pineapples working, it also said that you needed to eat about 6 pineapples a day for it to actually have an effect on you. Obviously, I wasn't gonna try and eat 6 pineapples a day as a pregnant woman. It wasn't that serious for me. So I would have about 1 pineapple a day, and it ended up just being a nice snack, like a tasty snack. So none of these things ended up really working too tough. Like, I was just trying and trying and trying, and basically babies come when they're good and ready. So apart from walking, which I think really did help with getting the baby in position, all of those other things were just for the bees. Like, nothing happened. So the day before I had my baby was pretty much an ordinary day. I went to the supermarket, you know, just chilled, watched TV, you know, was pregnant, so I couldn't move around that much. It was just a pretty normal day. Then later on in the evening, I had what is called a bloody show. So I'm gonna spare you the gory details. You can go to Google if you want to actually get an image or a visual of what a bloody show looks like. But in a nutshell, it's discharge, blood, and gunk, basically indicating that your labor is imminent and your baby is on the way. So when I got the bloody show, I was like, okay, the baby could be coming at any time now, if not today. Well, I didn't think it was going to be that day actually, but I knew that within the next few days that the baby was on her way. So I went to bed that night feeling absolutely fine, just my usual discomfort and just feeling really heavy and big and finding it difficult to get to sleep. Now, I fell asleep and I was chilled. At 3 a.m. in the morning, I realized that it was my cousin's birthday, who was very, very close to me. So I woke up and started to post an Instagram post about his birthday. Now, the whole time that I was posting this Instagram post and just basically on Instagram that morning, I could feel what I would describe as little niggling period pains, nothing serious, and I just thought that maybe it was Braxton Hicks or just like normal discomfort. Then the next thing, in fact, I'm gonna have to demonstrate this for you guys. I don't know whether you can hear this, but this is the sound that I heard. Pop. Did you hear that pop? I hope you heard the pop. Anyway, that was what it was. A popping sound, and then I looked down and all my trousers, my pajama trousers, were soaking wet. And I was like, I think that my water just broke because the popping sound was too loud and it was just literally a gush. Some people that I know actually didn't experience their waters breaking, so I had no rule book, no guidance on what exactly it was. So I ran to my mom at this point and I'm like, Mom, I think my water broke. And obviously being a mom, she was like, let me see. I was embarrassed to show her, but I ended up showing her my leggings and she was like, yeah, I think your water has broken. And that is when it sunk into me that, oh my gosh, it is D-Day, I'm about to have my baby. But forget the way that I'm sounding excited now. I was scared as hell because the first contraction hit. I mean, it banged. It was painful. Guys, my pain threshold is so low. From the first contraction, I was already telling my mom that, oh my god, I don't think I could do this. Meanwhile, she was just telling me the normal mom stuff like, Data, pain is what brings forth your baby. After this pain, just look forward to having your baby. And I was just scared as hell as to what I had in store for me if this was the pain that I was feeling from my very first contraction. So at this point, I literally couldn't stand up. I'd had about 10 minutes of contractions and my contractions were coming really hard and really fast. In fact, I'll show you a little clip about how I looked. Oh, I'm literally on the floor of the bedroom, like doubled over in pain. I'm in so much pain. I'm in pain, man. You can imagine, I was in pain. Every time I had a contraction, I had to literally get down on the floor. I could not stand through my contractions. It was that painful. So I knew that going to the hospital maybe a couple of days. So the first thing that was in my mind was just to hop in the shower and have a shower. Now, while I was getting in the shower, my contractions were still coming hard and fast. And my mom was in the bathroom, obviously trying to get ready as well to accompany me to the hospital. Because of the pandemic, it was literally only me and her that was going to be allowed to be in the room during the birth and during my whole stay in the hospital. So I get in the shower and I am in pain. I'm talking about it is killing me. I'm not trying to scare anybody out here, but whoa, labor pain is not a joke. It is crazy. Imagine the worst pain you've been through and times it by 10. That is how I felt. So as I'm coming out of the shower, trying to just endure the pain, I turn and I catch a glimpse of my mom laughing. And at that point, I was like, yo, what are you laughing at? What could possibly be funny? And her reaction was, can I not laugh? My grandchild is coming, I'm happy. But I was not finding it funny. Literally any movement from anyone else around me seemed to be making the contractions worse. As my mom was laughing, I felt like it was increasing my pain. So I was like, Mom, it's not funny, you can't laugh. It's not funny, I'm in so much pain. And yeah, obviously she tried to calm me down at that point as well. So I'm rushing to get to the hospital knowing that my waters have broken and I am in pain. My contractions were coming hard and fast. They were coming literally every 3 to 4 minutes and I had just gone into labor less than an hour ago. So I was really confused and puzzled as to why my labor was going so quickly. So all I could think of was rushing to the hospital. I get in the car with my mom and my 2 brothers and my brother is driving us to the hospital. And I don't know whether this happened to anyone else who had to get in the car and have a little bit of a journey to the hospital, but every single time a contraction came, I had to literally yell to my brother to stop the car or slow down completely because it felt like the car ride was just making it so much more painful. I was literally hanging onto the top of the car, well, not the top of the car, the thing that hangs down by the door, and I was like, stop the car, I'm having a contraction. And my brother was also panicked because he's a guy, he doesn't know what's going on. He's like, okay, I'm stopping. At one point we're in the middle of the highway and I was like, stop, and he was like, I can't, we are on the highway. So anyway, aside from all of the stopping and starting in the middle of the road, we finally get to the hospital and we're all wearing masks knowing that we're in the middle of a global pandemic. Now, the people in the hospital at this point were not all wearing masks. Mostly it was the staff wearing masks and visitors were not wearing masks at this point as a mandatory requirement. That came into place a few days after I gave birth to my baby. So as we walked in, everybody's back was up. They acted like we had just come in, rolled in some Ghostbusters suits or looking like Men in Black. They were on edge and they were like, why are you wearing a mask? Why are you wearing a mask? Do you have that virus? And obviously we didn't, and we told them that we didn't, but already I could feel the atmosphere in the hospital being a bit tense. People were looking at us like maybe we were sick and that's why we were wearing masks, and we got a little bit of hostility from the staff there. But to be honest, that was not my concern. I was not trying to take any chances with the way that the virus was spreading around. So the first thing that they did was to wheel me into a room where a nurse checked my cervix. Now, I'd only been in labor for an hour and a half, max 2 hours. So I was expecting them to tell me that I was about 1 centimeter or 2 centimeters dilated. To my complete and utter shock, I was almost 5 centimeters dilated at this point, and I'd just been in labor for 2 hours, and the contractions were coming harder and faster and stronger. I literally thought at this point that I was going to faint and pass out from the pain. All I kept on saying was, I cannot take it, I cannot take it, I need my epidural. Can we just give a moment of silence for the epidural? Now, for all you naturalista mothers, I give you my full and total props. I wasn't even trying to have a natural birth at all. I wanted pain relief and I wanted it ASAP, like yesterday. But they told me because I was slightly dehydrated, they had to put me on a drip, and once I had finished the whole of the fluid bag in the drip, then I could have my epidural. Now, I was expecting, you know, a normal bag of fluid, and I'm talking about what looked like a liter of water came out, or whatever fluid it was that they were putting inside me. And I had to wait for the fluid to go all the way through my system before I could get the epidural, which was torture. What probably took about an hour felt like a lifetime to me. It was literally dripping like boop, 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 boop. And they told me that I also couldn't drink any water or have any liquids whilst I was waiting for the fluid to go through my system. So I was there, dry lips, forgot my chapstick at home, completely thirsty and waiting for the drip and waiting for my epidural, That was my only way out of pain relief. So I was there literally counting these drips of fluid. And in case you don't know, when you're giving birth, you're also hooked up to different machines that will be checking and monitoring the baby's heart rate and making sure that everything is fine with the baby, and also measuring your contractions. So I could see that my contractions were coming harder on the machine, and I still had not yet had my epidural. And then I started to hear a beep on the machine that didn't seem like a normal beep. It was a loud like wee, 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 wee. And a nurse rushes in, comes, starts checking everything on the machine, and at this point my heart is literally like boom, 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 boom. What is going on? I hope that there's nothing wrong with my baby. So the nurse turns to me and says that she's gonna have to put what is called a peanut in between my legs because the baby's heart rate at this point was dropping drastically. So as you can imagine, being a first-time mom, I was completely horrified, shocked, and just like, what the hell is going on? I hope everything is okay with my baby. So they turned me on my side, put this peanut that is basically like a bouncy ball but in the shape of a peanut. You can also Google and have a look if you want a visual. And that was basically keeping my legs open and keeping the baby's heart rate up. I'm not a doctor, so I don't really know exactly what it was doing, but the beeping reduced on the machine and things started to look like they were getting back to normal. The only thing that wasn't normal was the amount of pain I was going through. At this point, I was starting to feel a little bit delirious, and I was begging the nurse, like, look, what's up with the epidural? Every time she'd ask me if I was okay, I'll be like, yeah, I'm cool, but I'll be better with my epidural. You know, she'd ask me, how are you feeling? Hope you're all right. And I'm like, no, do you know what? I'm not all right. I need my epidural, please. Where is the epidural guy? So at this point, all I could think of was my epidural. And bless the nurse, she was sweet. She was asking me how I was, whether I was fine. And all I kept telling her was that I will be fine when I get the epidural. I was trying trying not to snap, but I was getting to the end of my patience without this epidural. The pain was crazy. And this lady was there telling me that, well, deliveries are painful. And I wasn't trying to hear that. All I wanted was the epidural and to feel less pain and less pressure. I literally felt like something was going to explode down there, which I'm sure a lot of women that have given birth can relate to. So I'm waiting for the epidural and time is going by. They told me that the doctor that was meant to be administering my epidural was busy attending to other patients, so I just had to wait. At this point, I literally wanted to die from the pain. So when the guy finally did show up in my hospital room, it was like the Messiah coming with a bright white light, coming to save me. And even though I'm a married woman, at that point, I could have kissed the doctor because I was so happy that I was going to finally have some pain relief. Now, for those of you that have had an epidural, you know that at first it is like having ice cream for the pain. Literally everything started to feel a whole lot better. Not instantly, but after a few minutes, I started to feel like everything was better. I was talking normally and I was like, wow, maybe this birth thing isn't so hard after all. Until after about 20 to 30 minutes, I was back to feeling the pain that I was feeling before, but 10 times worse. I was literally in a state of confusion. Like, hold on, you gave me an epidural. Why am I still feeling pain? Why am I still feeling pain? The nurse comes in and asks me on a scale of 1 to 10, how much pain am I feeling? And I told her that, look, whatever you gave me, whatever was in this epidural injection that you gave me, it didn't work. It's not working and I am still in so much pain. I can feel the pressure and it feels like something is going to explode in my vagina. So knowing that I was in a lot of pain and seeing how hard and fast my labor was going and how hard and fast my contractions were coming, the nurse rushed to go and get the doctor that had administered, the anesthesiologist that had administered my epidural, and he had to do the whole process all over again. So for women that have had an epidural before, you know that you have to sit completely still through an epidural. And the first time that he did it, I had a huge contraction that I had to chest. So the second time that he did it, I was just praying that I would not have the same thing because I didn't know whether I would shake and end up paralyzing myself or worse. But luckily, the second time around, the epidural worked a lot better and the pain reduced drastically. So the rest of my birth wasn't so bad. Now, the whole time that I was in the labor room, getting ready to have the baby, the doctor that was meant to deliver my baby just hadn't shown up. Then he shows up at this point saying that I'm 8 centimeters dilated, that he's gonna go and come back, and then it's showtime and we're ready to have the baby. So I waited, he went and came back. And before you know it, it was at 10 centimeters and I was ready to push out this baby girl. Now, I don't know whether it was the stress of having to have 2 epidurals or the stress of just not having my husband there, or a combination of the whole excitement, adrenaline, and being overwhelmed. But when it came time to push, I literally didn't have any energy. And because of social distancing, I wasn't allowed to have anyone, even my mom, come within 6 feet of me whilst I was pushing, you know, during the labor process, which was crazy because if you've had an epidural, you will know that your legs are dead. So imagine having 2 heavy, dead, pregnant legs. You're carrying them both at the same time and trying to push out your baby. It was nuts. Honestly, at some point I thought that I would just literally just rip in half, or I would have to have a C-section because I pushed for a very long time and I ended up being in the active part of my labor where I was pushing for about an hour. Now, near the end of the hour, the doctor told me that her head was visible and that I needed to give about 2 or 3 big pushes and then I would see my baby. And I can't even remember how I felt at that time. Obviously, I felt pressure, I felt excitement, I felt anticipation, And I just felt like, oh my God, I can't believe that this moment that I've been dreaming about happened so quickly, because my labor had gone from 3:30 a.m. to about, at this point it was about 10:45 a.m. So I'd been in labor for literally about 6-7 hours. So everything went really fast, and I couldn't believe that the moment I'd been waiting for had finally come. So during those last 3 pushes, I just got into my head and I was talking to myself and telling myself that, look, you can do this. You were built for this. Women do this. You are strong. You can do this. Push out this baby. I know you're tired, but we've just got to do this. The only way is out. This baby has to come out. So I was giving myself this pep talk. I could hear my mom praying at the side. I could hear my husband's voice on the video call, but everything was just going around in a complete blur. And then after about 3-4 pushes, my baby came out, and that moment was literally one of the best moments of my life. I can't even describe how amazing it felt. Literally, it was just like bliss. I wasn't exactly camera ready. I thought I was gonna look cute when I pushed out my baby, but clearly not. I had no water during the whole of my labor, so my lips were completely white dry. I was tired. I was a hot mess. My nightgown, dressing gown, I'd forgotten everything in my suitcase, and I just literally came as I was. But it was the most beautiful experience of my life. Now, I will give you a disclaimer. I did have a 2nd-degree tear, which meant that as soon as my baby came out, the doctor had to start sewing me back up, which was actually really painful, because at this point, I don't know what was going on with the epidural in the hospital, but at this point I was feeling everything. So instead of going back, because obviously they couldn't give me a 3rd epidural after I'd had the baby, they had to give me some kind of numbing, like they had to do something basically down there that completely numbed out the area. And whilst I had my baby on my chest, the doctor proceeded to sew me back up, and that was that. So a lot of people say that birthing their placenta is very, very painful, but I have to be honest, I didn't have that same experience. I didn't even feel when I birthed my placenta. The doctor was literally just pressing my stomach and giving it some kind of funny massage, and then whoop, out came my placenta. And I just remember people coming, pushing me, prodding me, and saying stuff about the baby. I could hear them saying, oh, she's this height, she's got a head full of hair, and just, you know, a whole load of different things. But I was in a state of euphoria and bliss at having my baby. Now, I really wanted to vlog my birth, but I wasn't able to because cameras were not allowed in the hospital. So I hope that this little story time where I told you my birth story has given you a little bit of insight into what my birth story was like. And I would love to hear your birth stories. I would love to hear what it was like when you went into labor, what your actual delivery was like, or if you know any birth stories that you've heard that are interesting, please put them in the comment box below and let's have a conversation. Before I had my baby, I literally used to live on YouTube watching different people giving birth just to mentally prepare myself. So I'd love to see a range of different stories about people's birth stories, or any questions that you have on my birth story. I'm willing to share. If you like this video, please do give it a big thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you get notified anytime one of my new videos comes out. And I'm looking forward to seeing you in my next video. Bye.